30%. Your heart is only responsible for 30% of your circulation. 70% of your circulation is not done by your heart. It is done by an activity called vasomotor. I want you to think of a snake swallowing a mouse. There is no pressure in 70% of your vessels because the heart is not pushing the blood. The blood is being moved around by this vasomotor. We never examine the 70% of our circulatory system. We look at the 30% that the heart is responsible for circulating. You have about 63,000 miles of blood vessel in your body. Nobody in this room has a left ventricle that with one contraction can push blood 63,000 miles. It is done by this activity called vasomotor. Vasomotor is very sensitive to high homocysteine. And so you don't need much arterial narrowing in 63,000 miles to drive pressure up. So as that homocysteine rose and his vascular system contracted, his pressure went up, which is why he was non-responsive to medication, which is why 85% of the time, the diagnosis of high blood pressure is idiopathic. Google it, ask ChatGPT. What percentage of primary hypertension is idiopathic? 85%. Percentage of autoimmune is idiopathic, 85%. These things don't happen randomly and by accident. And so instead of putting Dana on medication, I put him on an amino acid. And if you have high blood pressure, you may want to write this one down. It is called TMG, trimethylglycine. You can get it over the counter. I don't even sell it. So trimethylglycine. Trimethylglycine will help homocysteine to be metabolized back into something called methionine. And the important point here is that this nutrient deficiency, which leads to high homocysteine, deficiency in TMG leads to high homocysteine, causes vascular constriction, drives pressure up. We call that hypertension. That runs in families. That is not genetic. And again, I could just keep going and going and going, but my wife says I eat people's face, so I don't want to eat your face. But I could stand here up all day. We could talk about hypothyroid. We could talk about migraine headaches. We could talk about neuropathy, all kinds of conditions that first, we just don't define them. And second, we never think they could be as simple as a nutrient deficiency causing the exacerbation of disease. So I put him on something called trimethylglycine. And over the next 21 weeks, as his homocysteine fell, his vascular system began to relax. As his vascular system began to relax, his pressure returned to normal. In fact, I'll never forget the call that I got from him one day, and he was like, he called me in the morning and he was like, Gary, something's wrong. And I was like, what's going on? He goes, every day for the last few days when I walk into the gym, as soon as I pick up a weight or I step on a treadmill, I get immediately lightheaded. I go, that's a great sign. He's like, what the heck are you talking about? What in the darn are you talking about? What in the shucks by golly do you mean? And he said something very different. And I said, Dana, when your blood pressure is high, your blood pressure will make your pressure normal. When your blood pressure is normal, it will make you hyposystolic. It will actually push your blood pressure down. This was the sign that I was looking for to talk to your cardiologist about titrating you off of your medication. How do you think that conversation went? So, cardiologist wanted no part of it, so I brought in another physician to titrate him off his meds, and at 21 weeks, he was off all of his blood pressure medication for the first time in 15 years. That was almost 3 years ago today, and he is still, to this day, normal blood pressure, never had a heart ablation, and is on no medication for blood pressure. So, woo! I got a woo for that one too. So, the reason why I keep going through these cycles is because we're just tracing this back into the soil, right? So first, do we have everything that God gave us that we need in order to function? If not, I'm not going to assume that anything is wrong with you. Before I label you with a diagnosis, I'm going to first see if your body has the raw material it needs to do its job. And then after that, get out of its way and watch it recover. And then if it doesn't recover, then we go looking for pathology and disease. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, it just does not exist nearly at the scale. God specifically designed the human genome to not pass on disease. It is specifically engineered to not pass on disease. Yes, it malfunctions and things slip by, but none of us would be sitting in this room if genetically inherited disease was something that we promulgated in the human genome.